Welcome to Canadian Beer Journal. My name is Kevin. Tonight we are finally doing the Wellington Brewery Terrestrial Imperial IBA. Had this one now for I think 2 or 3 weeks, just have not had time to get to it. But today I did get to a fairly well-stocked LCBO, and I picked up a fair number of things. One really interesting thing, Bose Brewery, Ontario brewer, had a number of these paper-wrapped barrel-aged beers, various names on them. They're all fairly idiosyncratic styles. This one is a wheat wine that's aged in Chardonnay barrels. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm probably going to wait for my buddy who has a really good palate when it comes to wheat beers to help me out with this one. It's not that I don't like wheat beers, I have a hard time maybe distinguishing things in them. He'd probably be a lot better, so I'll wait to get him on this one. I also picked up a number of sort of smaller 33 centiliter bottles. So 2 Trappist beers, one from the Rockford Abbey, that's their 8, which is a 9.2% beer. Can't get their 10 here, which is sort of their really big beer, kind of competes with West of Luzerne 12 and other ones like that. Also have the Trappist Echelle, that is a brown ale. I'm not sure if they do other products. I feel like they might be kind of like Orval, and that they only do the one type of beer, but correct me in the comments if they do other ones. Another one from Belgium, Montagnard. I've heard that's how it's pronounced. I got my sister-in-law to try to help me with that, but I'm a product of Canadian education, which means I barely don't speak French. This one I got on spec just because it looked cool. This Midwinterblot. It's apparently an Imperial Porter, and this one's from Sweden, so looking forward to that. I've had a number of good, sort of robust porters from the Scandinavian regions. Obviously Mike Heller does a number of great beers, so looking forward to that one too. This one I already had, actually, way back, the Buxton Brewery Imperial Black, but it's a beer that's so good you can get it twice. Let's see, local beer news. I know that the OCB's hosting Craft Week that's coming up on the Father's Day weekend. I'm going to see if I can make room in my schedule for that. I got exams coming up, so it might interfere, but we'll see if I can get to it. Anyhow, so, Terrestrial. This is the Imperial Strength version. You can see it has the Terrestrial theme. That said, the Terrestrial one kind of had the alien on there at least, which you'd think that'd be Terrestrial as well, but whatever. This is a one-off currently, Wellington Brewery. It's coming in at 8.2%. It is 90 IBUs. As far as I know, it uses the same basic hop set as the standard one, which is Citra and I think Citra and Cascade. So, to my knowledge, they haven't changed it. So it's just a bigger version of it. This is probably more competing with the American Black Ales that I've seen out there. I have not actually had an Imperial Strength India Brown Ale, so I'm really interested to try it, actually. So let's get the lid off. It's interesting, they got a swing top and a lid on this thing, so I guess it's meant to reseal it. Let's see what kind of pour we're getting on there. Not getting much of a head, and I'll go more down the center. Alright, there we go. Okay. So there you go. Fairly dark beer. In fact, I'm not really getting much light through it. Got a tan head on there. I'm getting maybe a little bit of ruby around the edges. While it was pouring, it was definitely more brown than black. So, anyhow, let's get a nose on it. See what we got. So right off the top, I'm getting a really dank hop presence, kind of like a Simcoe. Kind of smells like a flooded basement. It doesn't sound appealing, but that to me is what that sort of really pungent, almost wet hop smell is like. That's what it reminds me of. And maybe way in the background, I'm getting a bit of roast, but definitely being dominated by hops in the nose here. Much more so than the basic Terrestrial I had last time. Alright, let's give it a taste. So it's an interesting combination. There's definitely a big hop bitterness again, but I'm getting a fair amount of sweetness and somewhat surprisingly, a little bit of booziness in there. It's definitely got a tiny bit of an alcohol burn, but on the back palate, I'm getting a little bit of chocolate, um, maybe a bit of roastedness. Uh, let's give it another taste. Yep, I can detect it more mid palate. There's definitely a little bit of that. I guess kind of like a chocolate flakes. If you ever had those, you use them in cooking. A little bit of that. I'm not really getting that nutty character that was very classic brown ale that Terrestrial still had. This one I'm not getting it on. So I'm gonna let it warm up. This one's still right out of the cellar, so I'll let it get up to temperature. Maybe it'll come out a little bit more. All right, we'll see you then. Welcome back. So, as it turns out, I was wrong about this beer on initial impressions. I was really fearing that it was basically just going to taste like another American black ale. But now that it's warmed up, it has more notes of what I would lump in with an English old ale, kind of that bit of a cherry note, maybe a bit of a cough syrup note, but I mean that in a good way. The body is much sweeter and it's a little bit lighter than we would expect from a similar strength American black ale. So that's good to see. I mean, Wellington Brewery does have a heritage with English style beers, and even though this is more an American take on that style, it's good to see that there's still a little bit of that brewery's character left in the beer, and that they're not just doing another American black ale. Currently in the LCBO and the beer store, you can get American black ales if you want them. The Bruxton that I just got, I'll probably do a review on that. The Imperial Black. This is a really good one, actually coming out of England. Flying Monkeys, Netherworld. It's spotty in the LCBO. You can actually more regularly get it in the beer store, which is weird. The beer store normally carries the more standard, big three type beers. Um, Du de Ciel out of Quebec, Do One. I forget the name of it right now, but it's available in 4 packs in some of the better LCBOs. And sporadically, you can get Tree Brewing out of they're out of BC. Their Hophead Imperial Black IPA, which is a really really aggressive beer. To me, almost tastes like a Baltic Porter with a whole lot of hops in it. The website clocks at 161 IBUs. So next time that comes in the LCB, I'll probably pick one up and do a review of that. It can vary a little bit, but generally very very good beer. But back to the one we're reviewing. As I say, this one is definitely different. It still retains some of the characteristics of just a dark and hoppy beer, but it's got its own characteristics. It's definitely sweeter in the body, and I would really recommend making the drive to Guelph to pick this and the basic Terrestrial up. I'm really hoping that they make them regular beers. I think, as I'm saying, there's a niche for them there as an alternative to the American black ales and the American or the India pale ales and American pale ales. It's a little bit of a fine distinction, but I think the true beer connoisseurs are going to pick up on that as an alternate product. And they're just a little bit different. They're a little bit more complex. They're less extreme. So if you really just want your palate blown out by huge bitter notes, you might want to go the other direction. But this is something unique unto itself, and I really hope to put into regular production. So that being said, at 90 IBUs, 8.2%, this is a fairly aggressive beer. So if you're just starting out, maybe start with the basic Terrestrial and go from there. Alrighty? So we'll see you on the next one, guys.